we're continuing with equations, okay? With these decimal equations, okay, these are two-step equations with decimal. Now, I'm going to let you use calculators for this, and there's a reason, because these would be pretty, I mean, you could still do them, but they would be a lot of work, okay? So I'm going to let you use calculators on these. However, everything that we have learned up to this point, okay, we're going to apply to this lesson. There's nothing new here. The only new thing is that there's going to be decimal, okay? It doesn't change anything about the procedure of how we do these problems, okay? So, for example, okay, if I had a problem like this, let's say I had y divided by 7.3 plus 2.9 equals 8.55. Okay, I don't want you to do this yet. Just copy it down. But if I were to do a problem like this, okay, what's the only difference between this and what we've already done with two-step equations? Just that they're what? Decimals, okay? That makes no difference as far as how we're going to solve this, okay? However, I do want you to understand how to use your calculator correctly, okay? There's no negatives on this one, but I'm going to show you how to do negatives in your calculator, okay? But procedurally, what would I do here? This is like a regular two-step equation. If these were just integers, would I do anything differently than what I'm going to do? No. So what would go in the box on this particular problem? The y divided by what? 7.3. Good. Now, what is outside of this box? Plus 2.9. So how do I get rid of plus 2.9? So I'm going to do minus 2.9, and I'm going to do it over here also. Okay, you can use your calculators for that. Go ahead and do 8.55 minus 2.9. Okay, what did you get for that? Okay, so 8.5 minus 2.9, you got 5.65. Okay, so now what I'm left with these cancel, so I'm left with y over 7.3 equals 5.65. Again, this is no different than what we've already done, which you supposedly understand. These are just decimals. So what does this mean, Josh? This means y divided by 7.3, right? Here's what I'm seeing a lot of. Okay, in my other classes, I'm seeing this. When they get to this point, they're subtracting 7.3. You can't subtract to undo division, can you? The only way to undo division is what? Multiply, okay? So we're going to put parentheses around this. And what are we going to multiply each side by? 7.3. Okay, these, what happens to these two? They cancel. So what's 5.65 times 7.3? 0.45. Really? I think that's right. 41.245. Okay. I think you just had a decimal in the wrong place. Okay. But does that make sense how we solve that? It's really not that difficult, is it? Okay. So now, if we plug in something where, can I erase this? Do you guys have this written down? Okay. So if I have something that does have a negative involved. Okay, for example, let's say I had this. Negative 5.1 plus y divided by 2.7 equals negative 7. Okay, again, procedure is exactly the same, isn't it? And if these weren't decimals, this looks crazy. This looks like, how am I going to do this? But it's easy. What's going to go in the box here, guys? That's going to be in the box, isn't it? Now, I want you to refer to this, think of this as just box until we are going to deal with it. So what does this mean? This means box divided by 2.7, doesn't it? Right? So box divided by 2.7 equals negative 7. What am I going to do to this? How do I undo box divided by 2.7? You multiply times what? 2.7. Thank you. So you put parentheses around this. And then I'm going to multiply this times 2.7 also. Now these, yes, they cancel. And then I'm going to bring down, bless you, negative 5.1 plus y equals. Now, can I show you, look at your calculators, okay? And when we multiply these numbers, I want you to press 7. Press 7. Everybody press 7. Okay, look down under the 2. Do you see the decimal under the 2? Okay, look to the right. You should see a plus or minus or just a negative 2. Okay, press that. Okay. Did that make that 7 a negative? Okay, some calculators are different. Okay. If you have, what is the, James, what is the key next to the right of the decimal say? How many of you guys are using my calculator? If you're using mine, it should have made it a negative 7, right? Okay, you shouldn't, hold on. Yeah, which one of mine? This is it. So you gotta press this one here. Okay? On mine, you press it backwards. Do it yourself one here. Okay? But you understand how to use a negative 7. So then you do negative 7 times 2.7. And you get, so this actually has your negatives built into it, right? Okay. Does that make sense how we solved that one? We haven't finished it. So no, it doesn't make sense how we solved that. So, sorry. So right here, what's over here with this y that I need to get rid of? The minus 5.1. So how do I get rid of minus 5.1? You add 5.1 here and you add, that's very, very good. Plus 5.1 here. Now, this is where it comes in handy. To use that negative key with your calculator, okay? Because negative 8.9, I don't want to think about all these negative things, okay? So if I put negative 18.9 plus 5.1, what did you get? Negative 13.8 plus 5.1. So negative y equals negative 13.98. Okay? All right. Does that make sense what we did there? Okay. Now, on your worksheet, some of them are distributive. Okay? Some of them are not. So if I have one that has the distributive property, what does that mean? Is that, excuse me, is that what we did yesterday? Yeah, if I have something like this, look. Let's say I had this. Negative 3 times 7.4y plus 6.2 equals negative 120.73. Okay, so look at this problem. What am I going to have to do before I even solve this problem? What am I going to have to do? Get rid of the parentheses. And how? What is the procedure to get rid of parentheses? Distributive property. Thank you. So I'm going to separate these terms. Do negative 3 times 7.4y. And what do I have? Good. And then I have negative 3 times positive 6.2. What did I get? Good. And did I do anything with this? Okay. So now, I've turned this into a what? A two-step equation. So, what's going to be in my box here? What's directly touching that variable? This right here. Okay, what's outside of that box? Noah, what's outside of this box right here? So how do I get that? How do I get rid of the minus 18.6? I do that here, and I do it where? Thank you. Okay, so now let's do, using your calculators, let's do negative 120.73 plus 18.6. And what did we get? Good. And what happens to this negative 22.2y? It comes down, right? Now, what is happening here? What operation? What does negative 22.2y mean? What does that mean? Multiplication. How am I going to undo multiplication? Divide. The only way to do that. What do you think a mistake people might make right here is? If you added 22.2y, would that work here? No, you can't undo multiplication with addition, can you? So I'm going to divide each side by negative 22.2. What do you notice? I'm dividing a negative by a negative. What's that going to make sure? What's that going to give me? A positive. And when you divide that, you get a super long number, don't you? We're just going to say, we'll round up, 4.6. Okay? Does that make sense what we're doing? Make sense? Okay. So as far as what you would show, you show me everything that you do procedure-wise, but you can use the calculators for the calculation part. Does that make sense, guys? Does that make sense? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and give you your worksheets and let you